Hey, Jen.
Hey, Dana. Hi, everyone.
Welcome to Hypnosis.
And beyond. Today we have Tommy Giorlando. He's the Hockeytown Hypnotist. He's an author, a clinical and stage hypnotist, and the founder of the Tom Silver Hypnosis Academy.
Tommy, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
I'm super happy to be here.
Well, tell us a little bit about what brought you today to being a guest on Hypnosis and Beyond.
Yeah, so I'm Tommy G. I'm the Hockeytown Hypnotist, hockeytownhypnotist.com. So I'm based out of the Detroit area in Michigan, which is Hockeytown, but although, the last 9, 10 years or so, it's not so much. We haven't made the playoffs and it's been terrible. But we will get there if they hire me. So Steve Eiserman, hire me to work with the team, please. But I will. I've been doing hypnosis for over 20 years. I started off doing stage shows. I still do stage shows, but I was doing a lot of stage shows, a lot of street hypnosis. I was 17 when I started, um, and I was in high school. I remember getting in trouble in class, hypnotizing my friends, and doing goofy crap in the hallway and all that kind of stuff. Like it just, probably shouldn't have learned that early, but I did, and I think it's served me really, really well in a lot of ways, and now I get to travel the country and the world. I'll be in Canada, later this year doing a conference, and I get to teach this stuff. I now certify other hypnotists, in the Tom Silver, Hypnosis Academy, and I don't know what else to say. It's just been awesome. Over 20 years. I'm self-employed doing this full time. I've got 6 kids. So fully supported through all of this. I travel doing shows. I travel doing teaching and training and speaking, and it's just a super cool life. So I get to have these fun conversations about this amazing work.
I love it. Well, I know we want to ask several questions, but I have to ask, do you have a fun stage story? Something that stands out to you in your vast career of doing stage that might give us a chuckle?
Yeah. Well, I've done so many shows, but one of my favorite moments was a few years back. I was doing a show for Centerline High School, and that's not too far from where I am. And I was doing this bit where people forgot how to sit because their butts fell off. So that's what I told them. I said, you'll stand up and then you suddenly your butt falls off and you can't sit anymore because where are you going to sit if you can't sit on your butt? There's no sitting. And so I told them their butts fell off, and this one guy kept kind of sliding off his chair. He'd try to sit down, he'd slide right off his chair, he'd fall right down. And I helped him up and I go, "Hey, it looks like you're having some trouble there." And most of the time they just kind of go, "Yeah, my butt fell off." And it's funny because they're in this zone and they're like, they can't sit down, and it's funny. But he goes, "It's like the darndest thing. I can't sit down." And he's like, his personality starts coming out in it. And I'm like, "Yeah. So tell me more. What's going on?" He goes, "Well, my butt fell off." I go, "That is that common?" He's like, "Well," he turns it into like a social issue. He goes, "Well, it's becoming more and more common these days, and the different class systems and what," and it turned into this whole thing. And I'm like, this is why I love what I do, because I could give the same exact instructions to different people, and it's so different. So everyone's just cracking up, and because it's like he's got this whole story about the social inequality that comes along with your butt falling off, and I was like, "Oh, this is beautiful." So I think that one is the one that comes to mind right now.
That's hilarious. Well, so then when you do a stage show, do you sprinkle in some of the therapeutic aspects to it at all?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I end every show. So I start every show and end every show with some version of some kind of hypnotherapeutic instruction. And so, oh, excuse me. At the beginning of the show, I basically start out by saying, You're gonna see some incredible things tonight. You're gonna see people that are doing things that otherwise they might not, and it's gonna demonstrate how easy it can be to fix things that are going on in your mind as well. Because if I can get you to do these things, imagine what's possible when it comes to these other things that you want to accomplish, quitting smoking or losing weight or, getting out of pain or whatever it might be. And so I start with, that whole pre-talk thing. I'll demonstrate how powerful their minds are by, either doing, some kind of like hands locking or arm levitation kind of thing. And I will often associate it with the removal of a negative emotion or something like that, or I'll make them really, really happy. And then at the end of the show, I will generally have the group that volunteered gets a gift, which is I help to I have them basically think of a specific goal that they want to accomplish, whether it's the removal of a habit, whether it's the improval of a habit, improval, that's a word I'm coining today. Removal and improval. That's the show.
I
But
like it. There you go.
whether it's one or the other, or it's some kind of mental boost or memory boost or whatever it is, I have them think of that thing, and we spend the last 5-10 minutes locking that in, because at that point they've already been hypnotized for almost an hour, and so everything else that I tell them is going to stick really nicely. But I tell them all the old suggestions are gone, all the old instructions are gone, but this one's going to stick. So I always give them that.
I'm curious, Tommy, when you do that part that removes the instructions that you gave,
Mhm.
what would happen if, you ran to the restroom and you forgot to do that part in your show, right? What would happen? And then you left. I don't know why you would do that, but what would happen if you don't remove those things that so you put them in the trance for the show and then you suddenly have to leave?
They just work for me forever after that. No, it eventually all of those suggestions go away because they don't serve a purpose beyond the show. For some people, they will linger for longer than they are comfortable with, though. So it's something that we have to be really careful when we're doing these shows, especially when it comes to if there is an actual stage. Um, i- if I were to say at the end of the show, "Great, go back to your seats," there are times when people will just walk straight off the stage if you're not careful about the way that you do it. So, and that's one reason why we have to have insurance these days. And so it turns into a very there's a very layered approach to bringing them out of it, and then also telling them at the very beginning and throughout, you will never cross this point on the stage. If you need to get down from the stage, you will hold the railings and go down the steps from the stage. All of those kinds of things. Um, if I didn't do anything, uh, there is a high likelihood that nothing would happen in the negative. There is a percentage of people though that would kind of take those instructions, and they may last when other people say them. So if I say, uh e- every time I shake your hand, your shoes are on the wrong feet, if I do something like that, then someone shakes their hand, they may feel like their shoes are on the wrong feet for a little while later. But it's not going to last that long. Even if it was like you got to sleep it off, you'll sleep it off. It's just a matter of um for optics, you definitely want to do it, and
Yeah.
especially depending on the suggestions you're giving. Some of these adult shows, you really wanna be careful
Yeah,
with,
that makes
when those
sense.
are supposed to go away and in what form. So,
Yeah. I just figure our viewers, have those kind of burning questions, right?
yeah.
There's so much interest and uh, fascination by stage hypnosis. I know that in my private practice, it is something that I bring up in a first session with any client, describing that process, all those levels of consent that's given. The person even just choosing to go to the show and purchasing the
Mhm.
ticket and walking in the room and all of those and then volunteering and then right, and all those different things. Um, so I'm curious how much in your private practice now when you're working with clients, how does that affect kind of the way you approach a therapeutic session with somebody?
I honestly think my stage experience has made me a better therapist. Um, and what I mean by that is I am really so when you get trained in stage hypnosis, there are several things, several components to that that really are built to amplify a really, really quick process of getting someone into hypnosis very quickly, very profoundly, get the results you want very rapidly, and you have to handle so much at once. You're not just watching one person. You're now handling probably 10, 15, 20 people at the same time. Plus, you're monitoring the audience because sometimes people are hypnotized in the audience, and some people, like me, actually do that on purpose. But you're monitoring people in the audience, the reaction of the people who are not hypnotized, plus the reactions of the people on stage. You're having to be really mindful of every potential safety infraction that may come about from this or safety event that may come about from this, not just because the stage itself, but sometimes you're tripping over your own feet because they're standing up. You have to think through like what happens after they leave the stage. Um, what happens if they have an reaction, an abnormal reaction to hypnosis? Stage hypnotists have to be really, really well versed in how to handle those situations quickly and without making it a spectacle because the audience will see an reaction and freak out. If I have an reaction and I don't know how to handle it with the right mindset, um, a lot of these high school shows, especially, I'm not going to get invited back there. And it's not my fault if they have an reaction a lot of times, but I'm very mindful of the types of words that I use because of things like that. Um, Honestly, even words like deeper, uh, I tend to avoid specific things like they may trigger abnormal or unwanted reactions. And for a clinical hypnotist, an reaction is really just an unexpected reaction. If you really like understand them, it's just unexpected and it's just an opportunity to explore something new. On stage, it looks freaky and you have to deal with that one person and all these other people and figure out how to do that. So it makes you really good at recognizing signs in people, and it also makes you really good at rapid and instant inductions and how to make them really effective, so that you can get right to the meat of the situation, right to the core of the problem quickly, um, and in pretty much any situation. So it's really informed my therapeutic work because I understand uh, the principles behind what takes someone into hypnosis really effectively, and I can get them there very quickly and get the changes that I want to see very, very rapidly.
Nice, I like it. Well, tell us a little more about the academy now with the certification and how would you describe the style of hypnosis or maybe the focus or tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so the Tom Silver Hypnosis Academy. Tom Silver was a friend and mentor of mine. He certified me in 2025. Before that, I had no certifications. I was just doing it all willy nilly. Like, no, I was well versed in it. I studied it. And I read books and everything before then, but and watched other hypnotists and everything. But um, Tom and I laughed about the fact that certifications are all kind of made up. It's like whose line is it anywhere where the rules are made up and the points don't matter, like that. It's like that kind of a thing. But you know, Tom was a scientific minded person. He wasn't okay with hypnosis just being the woo woo mystical kind of thing. Like that has its place. It's not like a knock on that approach to it, but he didn't like that the scientific community seemed to regard it only as that for the most part. And it was like pulling teeth to try to get anybody to look at it differently, despite the studies that have been done over the years. And despite the mountains of evidence for its efficacy, you still are hard pressed to get a referral from a doctor most of the time to get hypnosis clients for pain or for anything else. Good luck getting a hypnotist to do hypnobirthing with you in the labor and delivery section of a hospital. You can do that if you got midwives, but it's a lot harder in a hospital setting because they're less open to those kinds of things. And so Tom used to um, think about what would make this more provable to that skeptical part of the scientific community. And what are they going to look for? And so he started utilizing an EEG, an electroencephalograph, and he had them hooked up to it so that he could see how they were reacting in different states of hypnosis, different depths and levels, and whatever you want to call them. He would do it that way. And then he started actually measuring results. He started measuring physical reactions to things. He started really showcasing all of the science behind it. And he would take the studies that were done, through the APA and through the British Medical Association and all of those different things, and he would compile them. And he created this training that he was doing through the USBCH, which was the United States Board of Clinical Hypnosis, which was his foundation, his group. Um, and he was going around the world actually training medical doctors and medical staff, neurologists and psychologists, and all these like top professionals that we, hold in high regard when it comes to our health and our mental health. And he was training them all over the world, China and Australia and England and Netherlands, all over the place. And became very well known for that. And he was already world famous for his TV appearances, for his work with celebrities and things like that. He was on the Jimmy Kimmel show. He was Jimmy Kimmel's hypnotist at one point. And so in this certification course, Tom passed away in May of 25. He certified and licensed me, and I'm the last one teaching his stuff as a licensed person. He licensed one other person, my friend Israel. He's not really teaching it. He is technically able to teach it, but he doesn't. He's got his own thing that he's doing. Me, I was really, really into, I love teaching. And so I was really into the idea of taking this forward. So I've worked with his wife, Suzanne, his daughter Mariah, and we basically started putting together all the training stuff, and then we had a nonprofit that fell apart. It just didn't work out. Now we've got the Tom Silver Hypnosis Academy, where we're continuing Tom's trainings. It's the scientific hypnosis and emotion replacement therapy certification course. And ERT, emotion replacement therapy, is the technique that Tom used that is so effective that most of the time you really only need one session. Most of the time. Now, if you do need more than one, sometimes you need two. That's a thing. But most of the time, one and done is where it's at. And he was having success with hard drugs, people with hard drugs, people with major addictions, major compulsions, and all kinds of issues. And so I'm teaching those techniques, and he taught them in a very scientific way. And so that's what we're actually knee deep in now. Today was day one of the first full certification course since he passed.
Wow. Fascinating. Really, really cool. So then how long is the certification process?
It's a 5-day course. It's roughly 25 hours long. Um, so it's right now we're doing my time zone, which is Eastern Standard Time in Michigan here. We're doing It's a Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Course. We have a built-in, little lunch break and a couple of other, bathroom breaks and whatever else. Um, but I will be doing other ones that are self-guided. I have one that I'm putting together that's going to be self-guided. Uh, Take your time doing it. It's a lifetime access thing. So if you pay for the self-guided course, if you pay for the live training online course, you have access to all of it for as long as it exists. So you could take it as many times as you want. I'll be doing these quarterly and in that sort of thing, and then eventually in person. I'll be doing some of those, but yeah, it's a 5-day thing, and
Nice.
eventually we are working toward having this course count as continuing education credits for medical and psychology professionals. It's in the works. It's not there yet, so I can't say that we have that yet, but
Yeah.
it is actively in the works for us to have that. So that'll be really fun too.
Wonderful.
Because I live in Canada, I understand the hypnosis conference is coming up. Will you be speaking at that is it in the fall?
Yeah, I am scheduled to speak at the Canada Hypnosis Conference in October. Yeah.
Excellent. So what will your topic be? Will it be on Tom Silver's methods or the
Yeah, I'm going to be
uh
covering a little bit of Tom Silver stuff, but I'm going to be talking also about some abstract hypnotherapy principles, and how to basically take a more trauma-informed approach to hypnotherapy so that we aren't playing with matches quite as much in this. There's what I've found over the years is there's really no need to regress uh, actively, like to lead someone to regress actively to points of trauma and things like that. You can. I'm not telling people not to. I'm saying that I've found that there hasn't been a need if you understand the principles behind the change that you are working toward. And one of those things is understanding how left and right brain hemispheres work and how they communicate back and forth, and it turns into a game of telephone, and eventually the message between the two gets convoluted. It gets changed in some way. It twists, it warps, it transforms, and suddenly it's something new. And you can consciously lead them to do that with things by abstracting them and describing them, and abstracting them and describing them, and having them do that. Um, Actually, I've had people completely take their pain away, their phobias away, their anxiety, their old addictions and habits and things just by playing back and forth like that. It's like ping pong in the brain. So we're going to talk a little bit about that kind of stuff. And of course, I want to talk about the Tom Silver stuff because Tom was a dear friend, and I want to keep that legacy going.
Awesome. And if you're coming to Toronto, you could probably hit up the Toronto Maple Leafs because we need some help in the hockey area of winning something because I think we're worse off than you are. So sorry
Send
to
me in,
say.
coach. I'm ready.
I mean, just on as an aside, because when you're talking about, running a stage show, I was just thinking of you and thinking about the hockey players too, kind of like running a game, right? And like, how would you train these people on the ice? Just give us an idea about your method there.
So I actually I have some things that I'm working on doing in that world where it would put me on the ice with them. Part of my approach being uh I have a background in street hypnosis. Street hypnosis means I can hypnotize you while you're standing. You don't have to sit down, you don't have to drop down. You're hypnotized while you're standing. Um so that's something I want to do is get on the ice with clients and or on the court if sports hypnosis is sports hypnosis as hypnosis is hypnosis, right? And so um wherever they are, I like to be able to get in that zone with them and play with them and train in that sort of mental space with them. However, my big approach to all of it is similar to my approach with pretty much anything else, and that's inviting play back into the equation, right? Hockey players, yes, it's professional. Yes, they're making a whole lot of money, and they have to really train and practice and train and practice and hone those skills. What I find though is when the pressure is off or when they don't let themselves fall prey to the pressure, that you start getting those really elite plays happening. You look at a player like Pavel Datsyuk from the Red Wings back in like the early 2000s, like when they won the cup in '02. If you watch him play, it looks like he's just toying with all of the other players. It looks like they're falling down on purpose almost. Like they're giving away the shots and they're not. He just was that into it. And that comes with letting go of the pressure and just engaging with the play. If you start playing again and having fun and remembering what makes the game so fun, then you can start having that flow happen naturally in anything you're doing. If I'm overthinking a guitar solo or something, I've got, music all around me here. If I'm overthinking playing what I'm playing on the guitar, I'm gonna flub up. But if I'm enjoying what I'm doing and I'm getting lost in it because I'm enjoying what I'm doing, then I might slip up a little bit, but I'm gonna just keep going and playing through it, and it's gonna still sound good, and it's still gonna feel good, and it's gonna be better than anything I would have written intentionally, that I had to memorize. So it's the same principle when it comes to sports. If you remember that you're playing this because you love playing this game, it's not just a job. If I thought of hypnosis, for example, as just a job, I wouldn't be having fun with it. You can tell when a hypnotist on stage isn't actually having any fun. You can tell when the hypnotist working with you for your habit situation isn't really having fun. They just see it as their job and they see it as helping you. But then you can tell the ones who are really like enjoying what they do, and it's like it's a totally different experience. And that's the same across the board. So that's really what I bring about when I'm working with players is you work with them. The best players are playing as well as being serious about it.
Very cool. So almost going to like your childlike ego state, really.
Mhm.
Like what got you into it in the first place.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got excited. I started to want to play hockey when you were talking about that. So there you go.
There you go.
Well, and that brings us to our next segment, which is our silly subconscious question. And our question for you today, Tommy, is which animal would make the worst roommate and why?
I'd say a hippo, 'cause they're terrifying, and I can't imagine that, they hold their poop in all that well since they're always in the water. So, they just get to let it all out, and it's gotta be a weird consistency, right? Like, I raised ducks for a minute, and I remember holding ducklings, and when it's never pleasant to get pooped on, ever, but there's something really, really gross about ducks pooping because it has to shoot out to get behind them when they're swimming. So it's like rocket poop. It's like a butt launcher coming out like that. And so I would imagine hippos have a similar mechanism, but on a much larger scale. So you're either getting like covered in gross or you're getting like just chewed up, and I'm not into either of that.
Wow. Again, I was right there. Sleeping beside a hippo. You're good at this.
Hungry, hungry
Um,
hippos.
yeah. So beyond what we've talked about today, what would you like to leave the viewers with?
The words we tell ourselves are everything. What you aim at determines what you see. Those my two favorite quotes that I always share are the words we tell ourselves are the house we live in, and what we aim at determines what we see. And w- when I work with people, it's generally dealing with the words that they have accepted as their own reality because we think logically. We think that we can logic our way out of situations, out of feelings, out of habits and patterns of behavior, and we can't. We can't logic our way out of things because we are emotional creatures. And so when we hear ourselves say things even sarcastically about ourselves, I'm so dumb. No, don't say that. Don't tell yourself something that you wouldn't tell someone that you love because if you make a habit of that, then you do start to believe those words, even if they're said in jest. Your reticular activating system is not picking up on jest. It's picking up on the words themselves and the meaning behind those words that you associate. And if you're aiming at something, um, if you're aiming at nothing, then y- you're just kind of a shot in the dark. It's you're gonna hit something. It's not gonna be what you want, probably. But if you start focusing in and zooming in, you focus those words, and I'm personally not a big manifesting kinda guy. I it's not that it's not legitimate, but mostly it's the reticular activating system at work. You know what I mean? It's you recognizing the patterns. You tell yourself there's prosperity everywhere. You're gonna start finding all the opportunities that you can possibly find. You start telling yourself that there's injustice everywhere, that's what you're gonna focus on. You're gonna see every ounce of injustice everywhere. And I think it's noble to notice the injustices, and I think it's also helpful to recognize that that's not all there is, and you can really, you can either dig yourself into a hole or you can build yourself a great home. And so I think just what I would say is take your words and be very, very, very careful with them because words do a whole lot more than you think they do.
Nice. Love it. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us today, and we hope you'll come back. Well, there's so many other questions we have for you. And with that, Jen, what do we always say?
Peace out.
Peace out.
Peace out.